Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 30th day of January, 2023. Well, let's see. Wednesday and Thursday are the first and second? Let me look. Yes. Okay, so that's going to be in bulk. That's the time when the lambs are born, and spring is not coming where I am yet. It just isn't. I see evidence over in the valley in the Portland area. We were just there, but it's not going to happen here at 3,000 feet above sea level. So it's kind of, interesting. It's like, oh, spring is sprung. No, no, it hasn't. I have snow on the ground right now. It happened Saturday afternoonish, I think, is when it hit, and it snowed for a while, and it's so cold out there, it's still there. So I suspect, though, I think we're supposed to get a couple of days here this week that are in the 50s, so I'm sure it'll all be gone. But there might be some little signs of life, but no. We've still got all of February to go through, and you never know with February here. So anyway, but it's a nice thought. If we were living over in the Portland area, then it would definitely be there. But I don't know. Well, let's see. I don't want to do my rune yet. I hope you all had a good weekend. We got to see our grandchildren this weekend, so that was very cool. We were there Friday and Saturday. We left Saturday morning. I've told you this before. We have chickens, so we can't be gone for very long, especially when it's cold and everything, because you never know. And then there's a little sparrow hawk that's flying around right now. So they're all like staying in their houses and stuff. The girls are in their big house. The boys are in their smaller house. It's just like, okay, we're just not going to come out. It's not worth it, And my husband noticed in the snow a raccoon prints everywhere. And he's following the trail, that wherever he went. That little guy, or maybe there's more than one, I don't know, went everywhere. And so that was kind of fun. Well, no, not really, because they may look cute, but they're pretty vicious. So you never want to, I see people befriending them, and it's like, well, okay, I've seen differently with these little guys. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at Monday's esoteric forecast. Let's see. If you want to see that online, you can go over to the blog at Stepping Aside. The web address is imsteppingaside.com. You can click on Show More, scroll down past the explanation of what all this is, and you'll see some links, and that's one of them. So if you forget, just go there and you can grab the link there. But that comes out on I think I do it early, like in the midnight hour of Sunday morning. That's when it came out, and so you'll have the whole week there if you want to look at that. But for today, you express yourself in a way that influences others to find their own solutions. And with the impact of Dagaz, one of the influences for today, the rune Dagaz, it may feel like all doors are open and all options are available. In fact, there may be so many options that your focus becomes scattered as you try to sort through them all. So take one thing at a time so that you come to the best decision about whatever it is you want to do. Let's go ahead and get started then on the reading. I'm going to take, for those of you who have never been here before, welcome, and for those of you who've come back, thank you so much. And I hope whoever who hasn't subscribed yet will do so and join our little tarot and rune family here. It's just kind of fun to look at the influences of tarot and runes on how we see things and the choices we make. Because that's really all I'm doing here. I'm not really doing any predictions or anything like that. Just reading what things say, and you can apply them to your life as they do, or if not today, maybe over the next couple of days, because we meet again on Thursday. I do this Mondays and Thursdays, and so it kind of gives you a few days to see how all of this may play out in your life. But today here for the rune, we have from the Elder Futhark, we have Tiwaz. Now this represents the god Tyr. Or what's thought to be a god, but I don't think that's what they were. I think they were visitors to the planet, and they had more skills and more bells and whistles that they showed people, and I think that they were viewed by the local human population as gods, when in fact they weren't. But anyway, this was Tyr. And basically, when you're talking about Tiwaz, you're talking about oaths and pledging your troth. There's a trueness to it. There's a spiritual warrior within aspect of this. So you're standing up for what's right. Basically, it's comprised of both Isa, Lagus forward and reversed, and also Kenaz pointed downward. And so with Kenaz pointed downward, let me see if I can find a post-it note thing, and I'll show you what I mean by this. The runes are often bind runes in and of themselves because they're comprised of many different runes. You've got, let's see, I'm just exploding it here. There's Tiwaz. So this is what I mean about Kenaz going downward. And it's basically bringing the light of spirit into your awareness so that you can raise your consciousness to the point that you can understand the need to set an example, to be protective of others, to have integrity, to have honor, to have that kind of worth about yourself. Here you have Isa, which is a Norn rune of the present moment, of the static realm. It's alignment, it's focus, it's concentration, but it can also be that axis where spirit basically imbues, the soul imbues everything about you. Because that's what you are. This is just an illusion. The body's just the illusion, the vehicle that we use to experience all this stuff we're experiencing. And then Lagus, which is flow, basically spiritual flow. It's also intuition, clairsentience. But it's both forward, this is forward and this is reversed. And so that, if you can see all of that within this one rune, all of these energies combined together to make, other than say Isa, which is just the single line, but that's a very powerful Norn rune. So it doesn't really need any others to help it along. But that's what you're talking about today. So this is a day where you're going to stand up for yourself, stand up for others, have integrity, express yourself with honor and dignity, and be honest, live in truth. Those are some of the ideas and keywords with Tiwaz here today. But mostly I come down on the side of spiritual warrior within, a warrior for truth and a warrior for honor and dignity. And we have for the Geomancy rune, we have Kata Draconis. Now the Draconi, Caput and Kata. Caput is about the future. Kata is about the past. It's also about past life. It can be about karma. And with karma, there's always that idea of an evil influence, but I don't buy into that. I don't think anyone should. But it's having a maybe you haven't, in past lives, you haven't really addressed all the things you wanted to address. And so it's going to come up again in another incarnation, so you can work through it again there. So that's not a bad thing, but here, so it's the idea of karma is going to get you. No, it's not. And so, but here you have Kata Draconis, and it's the north node of the moon is Caput, and so that's the head of the dragon. So this would be the tail of the dragon then. And again, it's governed by the south node of the moon. And so if we're also talking about endings with this, the other would be about beginnings, then maybe you're experiencing something that because you stood up, because you spoke your mind, because you said, this is the line in the sand, I'm not going to go any further. You stand up for your ideals, you stand up for what you believe in. There's a higher soul level purpose involved, a soul level awareness involved to it, and it may bring an end to an issue or a resolution to something. Maybe in your past you had trouble doing that, but maybe today you turn a corner with Tiwaz. And you put to rest the fear that you might have had at standing up for yourself and standing up for some higher principle, some higher truth, basically. Maybe there's an awakening that you have, and you let go of the fear, that maybe the fear and doubt that you had before at your ability to do that, and to behave that way and to express yourself that way. So let's see, though, how much that plays out. Let me take one more drink of tea. And let's go ahead, and I've already shuffled a bit here. But I'll do just a little bit more, and then we'll see what the cards have to say. Now remember that when I do the runes, those are the significators for the reading, and so hopefully, it's very rare when the cards don't align with all of that, but sometimes they don't. So it's like, well, okay, we've got to rethink our definition then of how Tiwaz and Kata Draconis align together. So. But they're basically the significators for the reading, with the cards providing the details, essentially. So let me cut the cards. I'll take the lower half. 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, that's interesting. We've got two major cards from the major arcana. So those are going to be soul archetype cards. So again, I think that's going to align very well with Tiwaz. I kind of view the Elder Futhark as kind of like the major arcana in tarot. So you're talking about really higher level stuff, that is trying to remind, this is the soul's focus for today, basically. And so we've got 2 cards from the major arcana that are going to help that along. And then we also have the lovely 9 of Pentacles. And I think it's a lovely card. I mean, don't you? I mean, here she is. She's a woman of means. And I love what she's wearing. I want this. Okay, I want this. This would look great on me. But anyway, I love that thing. And because I love capes and I love hoods. And anyway, she's clearly in her garden. With all of her abundance around her. You see grapes everywhere. That always indicates abundance. You see all of her wealth around her. She's got her right hand resting on some of it. You see some balance here with the 2 trees. Her castle is off over here. But she's got her glove on her left hand, her receptive hand, and she's got her hooded falcon or what have you, whatever she's using here, hawk or falcon, on her hand. And she's going out there, and there's going to be a hunt. It's what the rich folks did, the royalty did back in the day. They would go and they would have these hunts, and they would hunt with predator birds. And so that's what she's doing now. Either the hunt's over and she's won, or she's getting ready to do that. But she's spending a nice quiet time in her garden, surrounded by abundance. And so with 9, you're talking endings, generosity, spirituality. And so it's just like at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you have this lovely time that you're just spending time relaxing and so even though it's a Monday, I realize. So anyway, that may be a little bit of an outlier. It may be the result of everything here. When you stand up for what you believe in, you don't have anything to worry about. You're not always scrambling about trying to figure out what's right and what isn't. Because you already know, and you assert that, and you define your path forward. But let's begin with the star of the 2 majors here. This is the 17th card of is it 17? Yes. 5, 6, 7. Yes, I look at that and my eyes get a little blurry. We're looking at the 17th card of the major arcana, so innate energy. This is wishing upon a star, basically. The goddess is in her nude form, 1 knee on the ground, 1 foot. It's not even in the water. It's like on top of the water, resting on top of the water. And she's pouring water into the pool, and she's pouring water onto the ground. You see a bird sitting in this tree, a funny looking red bird sitting in this tree above her there's a little peak right up there, a little hill. And she's just basically, when we see the star here, it's our hopes and our wishes. it's transformation and joy. It's intuition. It's empathy. But it's insight and inspiration as well. And she's basically bringing that to our hopes and our dreams and our insights and all the things that we desire in the world. And she's basically pouring her blessings down into the water, which is essentially our emotions. The water element represents our emotions, also represents change and momentum. So maybe something is about to happen. It would imply that, certainly, but it's bringing inspiration to that process. Maybe you've got some plans, some new opportunities or whatever, and the star is saying, you really can draw from some inspiration from higher awareness to manifest those dreams, to manifest those new opportunities. But then the Hermit comes in, another 9 card. In order to do that, you're going to probably have to go within and get higher, and not let ego drive the whole equation here. Here you see the Hermit. He's also in a lovely cape with a hood. He's an older man. He's holding a staff, but he's also holding a lantern that's lit. And look at what it's lit with. It's lit with the Merkaba. And what is the Merkaba? The Merkaba is the vehicle for the soul. So it's a way to bring soul awareness, higher awareness, creator awareness, however you want, whatever term you want to call it. I'm not going to define that for anybody. I'm just saying how I view it. But he's bringing that sort of soul light, that sort of higher awareness to the world below him, using it to light their way. He's up on a snowy peak right here. You can see there's snow. He's on the mountains, and he's standing up on top of one there, getting away from the chaos, retreating from all of that, withdrawing from the world, so he can go within and understand the bigger picture of things. So there's got to be some kind of bigger picture. We can wish upon a star. We can have our hopes and dreams. We can have our insights and our inspiration. But where, again, is that coming from? The star would suggest it's coming from spirit. But if not, we've got the rune Tiwaz here, and it's suggesting with Kata Draconis that we are emerging into a place of integrity, a place of higher awareness. And so all of these 2 cards, along with both of the runes, tend to reinforce that, letting go of the ego, letting go of the fear and the doubt, and moving forward with integrity and the idea of a promise to do the right thing for yourself and to do the right thing on behalf of others. There's so many businesses out there now that don't really have any integrity. And every so often, you'll deal with one. My husband and I, we've dealt with them, and you immediately go, ooh, and you leave because you know that it's not, you're never going to get anywhere with that business, right? Maybe they're say you buy something from them. I bought something from a little store one time. It was a food processor, and it was an expensive one, and it was years ago, and it was broken, and clearly it was broken from her place, right? Or from whoever she got it from. And I took it back like the next day. I'm like, do you see this? And because it was leaking everywhere, and it shouldn't have been. And my husband's looking at it. Well, look at this. This thing's broken. This is like it's been dropped or something. And so we took it back, and she didn't want to refund our money. She wanted us to go through the and do some kind of a fix with the manufacturer. It's like, well, no. I just bought this from you yesterday. And so we went round and round about it, and finally she took it back. But it's like that's what happens when you're in business. You have to be able to do right by your customers. And so, so it seems like there's some awareness that's aligning here with Tiwaz, where either you've been afraid to assert yourself in a way that you know is right, but now you have this opportunity to do that. And so either it's dealing with something like that, where you're having to deal with other people and you have to assert yourself. I remember when assertiveness training came out eons ago, and it was the idea of not yelling at people about to get your point across, but just quietly saying, look, this is what I want, this is what I expect, this is what I think I deserve, this is how I feel about this. And you just keep staying in that type of mindset, that type of quiet mindset, if you will, in order to get your point across. You'll get it across much easier if you don't yell at the person, right? In other words. So there's a way to assert yourself. And Tiwaz would suggest that it's all about doing that with dignity and honor and respect. The spiritual warrior within, to make something happen, but to do it in a way that doesn't, bowl over people at the same time. And so, maybe some of the wishing upon a star and your hopes and dreams have to do with letting go of that fear and doubt that you've had inside for so long, and asserting yourself in a way that honors who you really are, and honors the other people involved, And again, to do that, you may have to, with the hermit, in fact, we could probably swap these two and begin with the hermit, but it doesn't really matter. But with the hermit, it's suggesting that maybe you need to take a step back, retreat a bit, withdraw a bit, get higher in your awareness, do some meditation, do whatever it takes. And if you need to seek out somebody who's a wise counselor, that might be whose opinion you really value and appreciate. That might be something to consider as well. But to get a different perspective, maybe. But when all is said and done, it seems like the outcome is going to be some peace and tranquility and abundance if you do that. So this may be something that, it could apply to anything really. But if you've been struggling with that sort of thing where you can't really assert yourself in a way that, I talked about this, last week or week before, where I knew this guy who would wait until he's ready to explode before telling somebody no. And so a couple of girls, they were roommates, they took advantage of him. He's a little older than they are, and he knew what was happening when it was happening, but he couldn't say no until it just got too much, and then he's yelling at them. And then he comes and talks to me and says, I finally said something, but I yelled at them. He says, and this is what I do. I let it go, let it go, let it go. And then all of a sudden out it comes. And it's explosive. He says, and I don't want to do that. And so he understood, and I just listened, and he understood what the problem was. But that might have been, in that moment, his Tiwaz awareness, right? And maybe with the suggestion of Kata Draconis that let go of that, that process you've been using all this time, and assert yourself in a way that defines the moment for people. And sets those boundaries where they know at this point, I can't do this to this person anymore. So that could be, maybe you're lacking some peace and tranquility in your life because there's this stuff you got to deal with and you don't want to because it's scary. And of course it is. You don't know how the conversation's going to play out. You want to keep control of it, but you don't know if that's going to happen. And so, because you can't depend on what someone else is going to do in terms of their response. So I just think that I kind of started out with one mindset on this, and I have to think now that this is more about a shift in perception, your own perception, where you're going to let go of the things that have been holding you back. And now you're ready to move forward in a way that's different and with a type of resolve that maybe the fear and the doubt you experienced in the past kept you from feeling. And so with that, then you end up with your peace and tranquility with the lady in the cool robe that I want, right? So I don't know. there's probably a lot of ways of looking at this, but it just seems like with Tiwaz in the mix, that's such a powerful rune. That it's really, and given that it, the arrow is pointing up to spirit, essentially, it's like shooting that arrow up that way, into higher awareness instead of the ego, that's the direction you need to go. So maybe that with the star, your wishes and your hopes and dreams have always been, geez, I wish I could express myself a little better, especially when I need to stand up for my rights, and or stand up for somebody else's rights, or point out to somebody, well, you might consider this, you've got somebody who's taking advantage of you here, and maybe they didn't realize it. Maybe they were so caught up. So this could be something that you assert yourself to a friend to point out some things that maybe they hadn't seen or hadn't thought of before. And, doing it in a way that's loving and kind and caring and compassionate, and letting them know, hey, I'm in your corner. I'm here for you. So maybe you're the wise mentor. Maybe you're the hermit in their life, but at minimum, there seems to be some soul searching that needs to be done, so that you can move past some things so that it makes life easier for you. Instead of sitting around waiting, for something to change, you are the one that invokes the change, basically. And you do it in a way that is respectful and dignified, and honors both you and the truth of the moment, I guess. So much of the time, people want you to buy some kind of nonsense that helps them, but it doesn't serve the truth. We see a lot of that going on in the country these days, politically and otherwise, because unfortunately what happened politically seems to be devolving into our personal lives. And you're having to deal with people that want to do things that might be nice for them, but it doesn't serve anyone else, and can bring, the unintended consequences might not be so great, that especially if you're involved with people in a group setting or whatever, one decides to do something that impacts the rest of the group. And it's like, okay, we need to stop now. We need to talk about this. We need to understand what's at stake. And it's not okay to potentially open the door for harm for other people. So there's lots of things like that going on and in people's lives. And at some point, it's all got to get corralled into some kind of shared truth, and understanding of the bigger picture and of the bigger impact to other people, maybe. So it could be something like that. But again, it's standing up and for your own position, for the position of others. It's having to go within and really understand what's at stake. And I think the hermit is doing that. And the hermit is just suggesting that, you're going to bring the light of spirit into the equation here with that Merkaba lighting his lantern. And he's viewing what's going on down in the lower world, if you will, because he's up on a peak. He's viewing what's going on down there, all of those issues, through the lens of the soul, or through the lens of spirit, or the lens of higher awareness. And so I'm glad at least that this card came out today, because I really think that it, more than anything, aligns perfectly with Tiwaz and the energy there. So think about this. Again, this is pretty esoteric today. This is pretty nebulous in a lot of ways, but I think that with Tiwaz, it could apply to so many different experiences that a person's having. But it would suggest with both the star and the hermit that there's got to be some inner work done and inner awareness achieved. And it suggests that can happen today and over the next few days. So, and then in the end, you're going to be in the garden with the falcon. I don't know. We had a predator bird get into our chicken coop, into the house, and where the girls live. And my husband got it out. It flew directly from the chicken coop into the window, a plate glass window in my back porch. And I'm standing there watching it do that, and it lands on a shelf and sort of dazed itself. And I thought, oh my God, it died. Well, no, it didn't. And so I got the end of a broom and I just kind of gently touched it, and it jumped up and flew off, you know. And I felt so bad for him. I mean, I don't want him doing anything to my chickens, but at the same time, I mean, it was a little guy, you know. So I don't know if it was what it was actually, you know. I don't know if it was a kestrel, or I'm just not sure what it was. I looked up what's in our area, and it all happened so fast, I really couldn't see it. But I have to wonder, given that my husband saw a sparrowhawk out there, and he knows what that is, then I got to wonder, maybe that's what it was, because it was really small. And so I don't know if it was just young or full grown or what it was, but it was in my chicken coop. And then, I mean, I don't know. It was, I didn't get pictures because I was too blown away by it all, because my husband's yelling, and I go out and there he is with a broom trying to get this hawk out of he's like, there's a hawk in the chicken coop. So I don't know, but still it'd be cool to at least have that robe. That'd be very cool. I would be happy. So anyway, thanks for watching. And again, you know, you have the strength to make the inner changes you need to make. So if you want to boil all this down to one thing, it's that. T-Wise tells you that you have that inner strength to do it. The Hermit tells you kind of how to do it, of getting away and thinking and meditating and allowing higher awareness to inform how it is you see things. You might end up thinking completely opposite from what you started out, you know. And maybe it fulfills your hopes and dreams in the process. So, of peace and security and stability, and just a nice day, you know, where you don't have to think about anything except the hawks in your chicken coop. So anyway, thanks for watching, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.